Hello, and thank you for joining me today on The Political Conversationalist. My name is Ben Phipps, and we're still talking about divisive issues. Today, as you've likely read the thumbnail, we're talking about the gender pay gap. Really, there's not more than two sides on this. Either you believe it exists or you don't, but I'm kind of going to show you a third side here, and I think you'll find that interesting. This is a perfect example of how statistics with no context, or statistics in a vacuum, so to speak, can be very misleading. According to the American Association of University Women, women who work full-time only get paid about 80% of that men get paid full-time. Now, to a lot of people, that is proof positive of the patriarchy. That is 100% infallible proof that society is unfair towards women, that society is chauvinistic. And there was even a massive march where the gender pay gap was a big part of that march in D.C. called the Women's March, which drew between 500,000 and 1 million people, and had some questionable head attire there. But the question becomes, do men always out-earn women? Or rather, do men out-earn women because they're men? The New York Times says that motherhood creates most of the gender pay gap. In fact, according to a survey I read, 44 to 75% of women had said they had scaled back their hours at work or changed to a easier, normally lesser paying job to help take care of the children. Women are naturally better at child rearing, in my opinion, and it follows naturally according to tradition. And we are seeing more stay-at-home dads now in this generation, but according to tradition, normally the woman is the one that would stay home and take care of the children. So that, of course, being at home more, having less time on your hands, wanting less stress in the workplace, that kind of thing can lead to you either working fewer hours and getting paid less, or choosing a job that pays less due to reducing your stress level. Now add to that, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, men work full-time and they work an average of 40.8 hours per week, whereas when women work full-time, they only average about 36.2 hours per week. And 4.6 hours doesn't really sound like that much of a difference, but I put a specific example down in the Google document that I link with all my sources in it, and it comes out to about 89%. If you get paid the same hourly rate and you work that, a woman will only get paid 89% of what her male counterpart does during a year. And that can make it seem like it's skewed in the male's favor, but if you work more hours, in most places you will get paid more, unless you're salaried. Thirdly, there's something called occupational segregation. Now, this isn't a legal institution or anything like that, but tradition kind of dictates this. We think of some jobs as being jobs for women, nurses and teachers, for example. And we think of some jobs as being jobs for men, like lawyers and engineers. Now, increasingly in this generation and the past generation, that's changing. There are, like we talked about in our last update video, there are more women involved in politics than ever before in America. And there are also more women lawyers and more female doctors and things like that, more female engineers. Where I work in the industrial sector, even in the past year that I've worked in that sector, I've seen more and more women take an interest in engineering. And that's very comforting, and that's very cool that, you know, it's becoming more inclusive. And I've also seen more and more men are choosing to be nurses and teachers and things like that. And as the social stigma around some jobs are for each gender kind of goes away, we'll see more of that. But on the average, statistically speaking, most doctors are men, most engineers are men, most lawyers are men. And again, statistically, most nurses are women and most teachers are women. And so you kind of get to comparing apples to oranges. Of course, we know doctors get paid more than nurses, and we know that lawyers are going to get paid more than teachers. Now, I think that should be the other way around, but that's just really the way it is. And when you compare those two salaries in a vacuum, you end up with what looks extremely unfair, but is just an occupational choice. Add to that, fourthly, 30% of women ask for higher pay, but 46% of men ask for higher pay. So it's always important, if you feel like you're getting underpaid at your job, to ask for a raise. You'd be surprised how many times you can get one, and especially if you work for a smaller business, you can normally get at least a small raise. And that's important that for some reason men ask for that more than women. I'm not really sure why that is. Maybe they're more assertive or aggressive, or maybe they have a higher self-worth or something. They have an inflated sense of ego, whatever you want to call it. they're more likely to ask for a raise than a woman is. So that's another important thing. Now, correlation does not prove causation. So as we can see, yes, women do earn less than men on average, but that's not because they're women. And women don't earn less because they're women. Men don't earn more because they're men. It's because of the choices we've made. Women typically choose to be mothers and to have a family, and that is a very respectable choice. But that comes with the consequence that they're not going to be earning money while they're at home taking care of these kids. Women also choose to work fewer hours, and that's in a lot of cases because of motherhood, but they also tend to work fewer hours than men. That's a choice. Women choose, typically on average, to work jobs that don't get paid as much as the jobs that men choose. Again, that's a choice. And women don't ask for a raise as often as men ask for a raise, and again, that's a choice. But so obviously, just because men get paid more than women doesn't mean there's some kind of big societal conspiracy. So don't put on a tinfoil hat, or like the people at the Women's March, something a lot worse. Just recognize that the world is very complex, and raw statistics in a vacuum can't really tell you as much as you would like. I would like to leave you with this. If you are a woman and you are working in a job and you know there are men working in your same job getting paid more, ask for a raise. You'd be surprised how many times you could get what you want just by asking for it. Also, if you have a daughter or you are a young woman in middle school, high school, whatever, I encourage you to broaden your horizons and don't feel like you are stamped into being a teacher or a nurse. I mean, those are perfectly good professions, but don't feel like you have to take a job that's traditionally a woman's job. You can do anything you want. With enough hard work and dedication, every career in the world is open to you. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.